Hello, everyone. Today's podcast, I'm joined by the amazing Nikki Clarke. Nikki has been a personal trainer and nutritionist for over 23 years and has developed a personal online training program specifically for us women called Your Best You. So, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. So I'm going to get straight into it. I want to know a bit about you and what got you working with women and specifically perimenopausal women, because that's definitely me. Was there like a light bulb moment where you thought, yeah, this is what I need to do and this is who I need to help?
Yeah, there definitely was. So I started training myself when I was probably about 15, 16. I basically had been through school, um, bullied for the way I look at school. And I just got to this point where I was like, you know what, I want to make some changes for the way I look. And started going to the gym, started working out, took a keen interest in nutrition. And then I sort of got to that point, like when you're 18 and you're sort of told to go in a certain career, certain direction. Our school was really pushing you, go and do something computer based or IT based. And I was like, that's just not me. So I took a bit of a year out to figure out what I wanted to do, and just really fell in love with training and helping people. Through my own training, started coaching other people. Then decided to go to university to study sports science, and from there started working with people in a gym in London when I moved down there. And from the offset, I didn't start with the intention of I'm just going to work with women. I just basically started to work with lots of different people. But what I found quite quickly was that I was just getting really, really good results with women. And I found that the sort of people that I was training, I found them very similar to me in terms of had previous issues with body image. I was never going to be this personal trainer who, back then the advice was very much, eat minimal, like really restrict your calories, train 15 times a week. And that was just never me. Like I always had the intention, like I want to enjoy exercise, I want to enjoy nutrition, but I still want to enjoy time with my friends and my family. And I think that just drew me to the clients that I work with. And it just sort of happened fairly naturally. I got some really great results with clients back in the early days then, and they referred their friends and they referred their friends. And within a few months, my diary is fairly full, but it was 95% women. So it just went from there really. And then as the years go on, the sort of age group that I've worked with has sort of tended to be similar to mine, like early 40s. So it just sort of worked that I was working with women who are going through perimenopause. And I think the thing that sort of really, and menopause by the way, but I think the thing that really sort of triggered the whole thing of like the interest in menopause more was the experience that my wife has been through. So she just turned 40 last year, but she definitely started to notice symptoms maybe like a couple of years before that. She's a PA, super sharp, and she just sort of noticed that was dwindling a little bit, sort of forgetting certain things. Energy levels had really slumped. And she went to the doctor to try and sort of understand a bit more about it, and basically just got shut down,
Yeah, I think we've all been there in our late 30s, early 40s. They do a random blood test and say, there's nothing wrong with you. And you're thinking, there is.
100%. And that's exactly what happened to her. And then the sort of more that I spoke with my clients around this, I just saw that more and more women were just basically being completely shut down, and from some experiences, it was, pretty nasty almost in terms of like, you just need to get on with it. It's your imagination. And it just really just didn't sit right with me. I just couldn't believe that you'd go to the doctor for help. Like we always see doctors as, the people who should help us. Right. And yeah, wife was shut down. She went a second time after her symptoms sort of really started to exacerbate. And yeah, she got, they told her, you need to take antidepressants. And she's like, I'm not depressed. I don't need antidepressants. She was really adamant that she wasn't going to go on that. So I just sort of went down this rabbit hole. Look, I know what I'm doing in terms of helping people lose weight and feel better about themselves, but I just sort of went into this whole mode of, I need to learn more about, menopause and what we can do to help.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. And thank goodness that you did, because that story that you've just said about your wife is a lot of my clients' stories as well. And you just feel overwhelmed because there was nowhere to turn. Obviously, in these past couple of years, I have noticed a difference. It seems to be more talked about on social media, and we find amazing people like you who help us through the journey as well. So your program is absolutely amazing. And if it's okay, we kind of talk us through a little bit about the 4 phases. I know there's a lot more to it, but obviously you've got your lifestyle MOT, your
Yeah.
mind and body reset, your amazing transformation phase, and then a really important phase, obviously your maintenance phase. Can you give us a bit of a lowdown on some of them?
For sure. So we start off with what we call our lifestyle MOT. So one of the things I noticed from a lot of coaches in their online programs is that essentially someone would sign up to it and then almost instantly they're just given a calorie target and given a set workout that everyone does.
Yeah.
And I just could never fathom that. Like everyone's different. Everyone sort of is going through their own thing. And what we do with our lifestyle MOT is just try to work out where you're at with things, okay? As in, the majority of women that we work with, yes, they're going through perimenopause or menopause, but there's also got this history of dieting as well. There tends to have been that they might have tried various diets over years, or in some cases, decades. And we want to try and piece together why there's been so many attempts that haven't worked, and ultimately where you're at in your life at the moment and what is going to need to change to help you with that. So we just look in depth at that. So we get you to sort of track what you're eating for a few days. We want to, what you're eating at the moment, what your lifestyle looks like. But then also what else outside of the nutrition side of things you've got going on. So work life, home life, relationships, sleep patterns, everything. We do sort of a real big deep dive. It takes a good sort of 5-6 days to get to that point, but we need to accumulate a lot of information to work out what we need to do here. I think so many people will just start a diet based on, their friends telling them that it's good or seeing the latest thing on Instagram, and often just don't think, actually, will this work for me? Is it going to fit into my lifestyle? And that's, I think, where a lot of people fall down, is that they try things that realistically from the offset are never going to work for them. Like, for instance, for me, if someone told me to do like a low carb diet, it would never work because I like eating bread, I like eating potatoes, it's not gonna work. But some people would just be like, oh, I've seen my friend do a low carb diet, maybe I should do that.
Yeah, and then it makes you miserable, and then all of a sudden you just see the bread, you smell the bread, and then you gorge on more slice of bread than you ever would have because you want sucrose, because you've denied yourself from it. And it's not just that; it's the psychology behind being on a diet. I know for myself and lots of my clients, I'm not big, but you do notice when you put a few extra pounds on you, and you get down in the dumps. And for me, it's triggers. Like, you can be eating healthy, but if you get ill, you then eat junk food. Or if you've not organised your week in advance, then if you've not planned your meals and prepped your meals, then you will eat junk food. And it isn't just about a diet. I hate the word diet. It's about your lifestyle and preparing for your week, isn't it? And being organised and things like that. So it's good that you actually individually tailor it and don't just say, oh no, it needs to be carb free, and then you'll lose loads of weight. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, sorry, does that then move on to like the mind and the body reset? So obviously that sounds like something we all need.
Yeah, for sure. So once we've done our analysis with the lifestyle MOT, we'll go into the next phase, which is what we call our mind body reset. So essentially with this, I reckon if you asked 100 people what they should be doing to lose weight, the majority would probably say, oh, I need to move a bit more and exercise a bit more and eat a little bit less, right? That would probably be the standard answer, right? And whilst that's true, there's a reason that most people don't do that. There's a reason that most people don't stick to things, so we need to work out what it is that you've got going on in your head that is stopping you from doing the things that are going to help you. And sometimes it can be limiting beliefs, thinking, I can't do this. I'm not sure I can do this. And that normally accrues from maybe years of past attempts. You think, it's just me, I can't do this, So we need to look at that. We need to look at understanding or giving you ways of getting through those tougher times, because everyone will hit their roadblocks when they're dieting, trying to lose weight. The typical thing is that most people start really good, maybe get a week in, 2 weeks, maybe a month, and then something will happen and then derails them and they fall off the wagon, right? So we need to say, look, you're going to go through those times. You're going to have times when you struggle. So let's try and work out how we can accomplish that. Like, almost look at it head on. When you do have those dips of motivation, what do we need to do?
Yeah, that's really good, because I saw one of your videos, and it made me feel amazing about a lady eating pizza, and she beat herself up about it. And for us women, and it's amazing that you deal with that side of it, we beat ourselves up and berate ourselves so much if we accidentally come off the plan that we're on. We are our worst critics and our worst, and it's your mind. As soon as your mind's gone, then you're like, well, I've eaten the pizza, so what's the point in carrying on? That's it. That's all my work, gone out of the window. So it's good to hear that you actually help with that.
Yeah, and I think, look, on that perspective, what we do right from the start is there's no food that's off limits. Like, if you enjoy pizza, if you enjoy chocolate or a glass of wine, whatever, like, you can absolutely have some of that. Now, of course, that's probably going to make up a smaller portion of what you eat across the week. Yes, it's important to eat lots of fruits and vegetables and protein, all that stuff that you hear people talk about, right? But, you've probably tried lots of diets where you've cut out those things before, and the diets have been focused on restriction, and they've not worked, right? If it's been going on for 5, 10, 20 years, there has to be a bit of a moment of realization that actually like that sort of level of restriction isn't going to work. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. They think it's them. They think, oh, I should be disciplined. I should be able to cut all these things out. But what if we flipped it on his head and just said, you know what? How about we try and have a bit more balance and we show you how to enjoy your life a bit more, eat a bit of pizza now and again, go out for meals with your family and just let it so that it's part of your lifestyle now.
Yeah, yeah, it's really, really good advice. So obviously then you get to the transformation phase, where people start noticing their bodies change and their mindset changes. Could you give anyone some advice on I've dieted, oh sorry, not the wrong word, sorry, I've been on my program for a couple of weeks, why haven't I seen a change? I'm giving up, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
So for sure, that's again a real common thing. I think, look, we live in a world where we want instant sort of gratification.
Yep, yep.
Social media world, it's very easy to think, oh, how much weight has she lost and I'm not losing anything, and to get disheartened. But what we'd say on that is with our transformation set phase, we take regular measurements, we gauge progress on a regular basis. Okay, so I think most people just look at scale weight, and I think that again is a big red flag from any diet if that's all they look at. You don't want your self-worth to just be measured by a piece of plastic on the floor, right? Yep. So we can look at other measurements in terms of tape measurements, photos, wear clothes, that sort of thing. But also outside of that, about how are you actually feeling? Do you feel like you're more in control of your food? Do you feel like you're eating in a better way? Do you feel like you actually just feel happier day to day? Do you feel like you've got more energy? Are you sort of snacking less emotional eating? Like if you're improving all those markers, we don't just have to look at the scale weight. Of course, if someone wants to lose body fat, those measurements will come down as well. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture and just stop focusing on sort of one measurement, which is actually a really inaccurate measurement as well, by the way.
Yeah, because you can drink a lot of water and weigh heavier, can't you?
Yeah, you could go out tonight and get blind drunk and the next day weigh less because you're dehydrated. Doesn't mean you lost body fat, So, there's so many reasons why the scale will fluctuate, particularly for women, particularly like, if you have a monthly cycle, there's so many things that can change scale weight. So we don't just want to look at that. And I think, look, back to your point about what happens if after a week or 2 weeks, there's basically a few things you can do. We would say what we would consider a plateau with our clients would be 30 days. Okay. So if after 30 days you have, you've stuck to everything that we've set from a nutritional perspective and all the exercise we've set, and if after 30 days there's no change, then it would be a case of, right, what we need to do now is either change something nutritionally, something exercise-wise, or a combination of both. But what needs to happen is, after 30 days of being consistent, it's almost like an honest appraisal with yourself. If you're doing this yourself, you need to say, right, have I actually done all the exercise that I said I was going to do? Have I stuck to what I said nutritionally? Sometimes people won't, and that's not a slight on them. Sometimes things get in the way, right? Maybe you've been crazy busy at work and you've not been able to exercise as much. Maybe, I don't know, you've had stuff going on at home and you've been stressing a little bit. Okay, well, then we can say, well, what do we need to do to deal with that to make you move forward?
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's great. I've took on advice. Definitely don't look at the scales, because that is one thing that I think, oh gosh, I've put a few pounds on. Those few pounds can come and go. And you are right. When you eat healthy, you feel healthier in yourself. And I kind of smile from the inside out. I can tell when I've been for a walk. I can tell when I've been looking after my body and doing yoga and meditation. It's not just about the scales, is it? It's about your overall, and remembering it's the small wins, not just the scale weight. It's how you're feeling yourself. And that's ultimately what we all want. We all want to feel good, don't we?
For sure. And I think, look, if all else, like if you didn't even look at the scales, like we know that making good choices with your food, eating more vegetables, eating more protein will make you feel better. We know exercising and moving more will make you feel better. Regardless of the scales, like most people should probably be doing that anyway, right? Just because it's nice to feel better. And no one likes to feel low in energy, and no one likes to feel sluggish and, unhealthy. Like, do the things anyway. And actually the weight loss probably just tends to happen if you're doing those things,
Yeah, it comes naturally, doesn't it, when you actually start eating a more balanced lifestyle. So then the maintenance phase, because no one wants to go back to square one. This is what I guess possibly would be called the yo-yo sort of stage. You have a holiday or a wedding that you're fixating on. You work really well towards it, and then you just let yourself go. And then it could be my imagination or my clients' imaginations, but you tend to find that you actually put the weight back on But then I think you even get even more weight and you just feel like you've got such a mountain to climb. So do you have any advice on once you've got to the healthiness on the inside, as well as obviously how you want to look on the outside, what's the maintenance program you offer?
So in terms of the maintenance phase of the program, so this is something that I just don't think anyone ever tends to do with most diets, right? So most diets will be lose a load of weight and then go back to old habits.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue lies. Like if you do something that is extreme in nature, like really cut your calories down or do a juice diet or anything that's sort of extreme, yes, you will lose weight doing that. Like it's undeniable that will happen. But at some point, you'll be like, I'm going to go back to my old habits now. I'm bored of not eating carbs. I'm bored of just having shakes all the time. And the old habits creep back in. So the maintenance phase, actually, it should happen almost like as a follow through of all the other stages that we go through. Okay, so you should get to the point where once you've lost the amount of weight you want to lose and you feel happy and you feel good, the focus then is that, right, I can eat a little bit more now because I'm not trying to lose weight. I can eat a little bit more, but how much more what does that look like? You know, actually what you eat shouldn't change from the transformation phase. It's just the amount. Okay. And that's where I think a lot of people go sort of wrong with this. And I think what is really key then is to go through like a whole sort of season of your life as this new sort of version of you. So for instance, like have holidays, go through Christmases and birthdays and anniversaries and all those times when we would typically eat more, maybe drink more. How do you manage all those sort of life events at this sort of new version of you? And I think once you go through like a whole year of that, like I think then you could probably say, do you know what? I know what I'm doing. I know how to maintain this for good. But I actually think that the maintenance phase is the most difficult because so many people, when they diet, they are thinking, I'm going to cut all my calories and I'll go all in. And I think there's almost like a bit of a safety in that, a bit of a safety in being restrictive. Right, this is what I need to do. And that feels good. But the sort of maintenance phase, it's almost like this sort of wishy-washy area. Like, oh, okay, you can eat a bit more. But, and no one really sort of works on that enough. But I think as I said, it's the most important. If you put a bit of time into it and just say, right, well, I still need to exercise. I still need to eat lots of vegetables, but I can eat a bit more and can enjoy myself at the weekends with my friends. And once you've got that nailed, then you should never need to diet again.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's the hardest phase. It's hardest phase for me if I'm very much carrot and stick. If I've got something like a holiday to look forward to, then I will keep myself eating healthy and, exercising a little bit. I don't exercise loads. But yeah, Christmas is always my downfall because I see all the cheese and the snacks. So yeah, you'll be absolutely really busy at this moment in time with everybody going, at Christmas we had all this and we ate this and we ate that, and it's obviously taking 2 to 3 months to get rid of all that Christmas junk that we ate. So I want to talk about food. Well, obviously we're going for Christmas with the cheese and all the bits and bobs. I love the fact that your videos and obviously your mantra is restrictive diets don't work, because they don't. And we always feel like we're failing at them. So what would you say that we should be doing instead of restricting?
So eating with more balance. Okay, so if someone's at a point where they want to lose weight, then obviously something needs to change. Can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and, expecting a different result. Most people will probably need to eat slightly healthier. So eat more protein, eat more fruits and vegetables. But eating with balance will mean that you can still enjoy, like a brunch with your girlfriends, or you can, I don't know, roast dinner at the weekend with the families or get a takeaway now and again. Like balance should be that you're learning in how to incorporate those things. And I think if you go into a diet and you think, right, I'm going to cut out all these things, and unless you are going to cut out those things forever, then it's not going to work, and sometimes it might be a health reason why people cut certain foods out, maybe, but ultimately, like if it's not, and it's purely down to weight loss, like if you go into the diet thinking, right, I'm going to cut out chocolate, are you really going to never eat chocolate for the rest of your life? Like the answer is no, right? Chocolate's amazing. We all love it.
Yeah.
Why not just approach this in a way whereby you eat healthier, but you allow yourself a bit now and again, give yourself permission to have a bit of chocolate now and again.
Yeah. It is. It's about permission, and you said it earlier, like everything in moderation. It really is. Is that one of the reasons why you obviously did your I want to call them cookbooks. I don't know. I don't know any other word than calling them all your healthy eating books and your hints and tips and recipes and things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's just I wanted to show people that you can eat good food still and still lose weight and still then maintain that at the end of it. dieting doesn't just have to be about just eating boring, bland meals. For me, that the whole thing around food, like I get a lot of joy from food. I get a lot of joy for cooking for people. We've got 2 kids now, so we don't go out for quite as many meals. So a lot of our socializing is having people around for meals, and I love that, providing for people and just sitting around, nice food, nice glass of wine. I think so many people miss out on that when they diet. They think it's got to be this whole restrictive thing. Honestly, every single week on social media, I get questions on, I feel really bad because I ate a chocolate bar. It's like, you're allowed to eat these things. Why do you feel bad? It's like you didn't
Because
burn
we're
down on it.
told that it's sorry, because we're told we're meant to just have some plain rice, some plain vegetables, and a plain piece of chicken.
Yeah. And
And
it's,
eating that for like 5 days straight, and you think, oh my, and that's where the chocolate bar then becomes even more alluring than
yeah.
the one piece might have been if you were eating like some Mediterranean vegetables and putting a bit of chili on it. And that's where you get lost with her when you think you're meant to be eating healthy. And that's where obviously like cookbooks and keeping things real and being honest and you showing off all your food and, oh, look what you can eat. It makes me starving watching some of them. But I'm like, oh, you can eat that and still lose weight. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
I think the thing to understand on that is that there's always there's always like a tipping point when we eat food in terms of feeling good and then not feeling good. Okay. So let's just say, for instance, you've got a big chocolate bar. Like those first few squares will taste the best, right? The first few ones, like, oh, this tastes really good. And the more that you eat, there will be a point at which you feel like I've eaten too much, I feel sick, like I feel naff for a couple of hours afterwards. So the key skill really with managing this is learning how you can stop at that point. Okay, because the food is hyper palatable, it's super tasty. We want to keep eating more. Our brain is saying that tastes good, just keep going. But it's learning the skill to say, do you know what? I'm going to have a little bit so that I feel nice from it and I get the enjoyment from it and not feel like crap a few hours later or even that the next day feeling guilty about it. Like being able to do that is a real skill. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong because they think it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
You need to be able to learn to eat a little bit of these things and enjoy them rather than feel bad. And I think dieting, like the clients that we work with, as I said, have been dieting for years and it's been restrictive, it's been miserable. And the thing we focus on is just bringing a bit of joy back to their life. Stop thinking you've got to do this miserable stuff. It's just
That's
food.
perfect.
You learn to enjoy it.
That's perfect. It actually goes on to obviously, as women, we do have the real life struggles.
Yeah.
From all the women that you've dealt with, especially like your perimenopausal women, is there anything that you think holds them back a little bit? And how can you push them past any of those real life struggles that's stopping them make changes?
For sure. So typically, if someone is perimenopausal or menopausal, obviously hormonally that they it affects everyone in different ways, but it could be that you feel completely all over the place. Symptoms can be sort of minimal. Symptoms can be completely changing your life. So there's obviously a big scale of it. So there's that to contend with. You're probably also at a point where career or business is taking up a lot of your time. Like typically, if you're in your 40s or 50s, you're higher up the sort of chain than else. When you're younger, you might have young kids or even grandkids, maybe even like elderly parents as well that need your time. Like there's so many plates that you're spinning. And I think a lot of the time, I think there's almost like a guilty feeling about spending time for yourself or doing things for yourself.
Definitely, definitely. That's what all my clients say to me, especially when they come into my salon and they're doing a bit of TLC and treating themselves. You can see it takes them a while to just go and ground themselves and relax and have 5 minutes. You do feel guilty for any time. I don't know if it's just a woman thing, but yeah, that's definitely you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely more with women. I've definitely felt this. Like all the things I've just mentioned, obviously barring perimenopause, I would say that I've been through in terms of busyness of business, wanting to give as much time to the kids as possible, and feeling guilty for my spending time with myself. But what I sort of realised a few years ago is that if I spend 20 minutes on myself per day, whether it's to train, whether it's to go for a walk, whether it's to read a book, I will feel better. And if I feel better, I can show up as a better parent. I can show up as a better husband. I can show up as better in my business. I can feel the stress decrease. Like a really good question to ask yourself, if you're struggling with this guilt, is would spending time with myself negatively affect anyone? And the answer is like, no, it's not going to, right? So then it's a case, and it's a bit of a giant leap. And I get why it's difficult, because if you spent years looking after other people, looking after and helping other people, it can feel daunting. But what would you probably say if your best friend was really going through it and had all this on her plate, and you said to her, look, maybe you should just spend 20 minutes yourself? You'd probably give her that advice to do it, right? But it's hard to do it for yourself. So it is one of those things where you have to take a little bit of a leap of faith. It's like, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to schedule in some time for myself, whether it's like a hair appointment, as you say, or exercising, or just, kind of meet someone for a coffee or doing something. Everyone's got their own things. But I think your life will massively improve when you start to do that.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. That's amazing advice. I definitely recommend that to anybody. I call it my miracle morning, where you just spend a few minutes first thing in the morning looking after yourself. And at times I forget, and at times I get anxious over doing it. At times I get guilty over doing it. But it makes me a better person. It makes me a better business owner. It definitely makes me a better mom and wife, because you feel like you've had a bit of time for yourself before you then give to everybody else. So obviously I've seen lots and lots of your success stories on your social media. But is there any sort of like good transformation stories from a client that they've completely turned it around using your program, or can you give me some kind of examples?
Yeah, so we've got a really good one that we're a lady that we're working with at the moment. So I know you said you put the links to my Instagram in this, but like, she's one of the most recent success stories on there. She's a lady called Bex, and we've been working with her for about 6 months now. Now, when I very first spoke to her, she was honestly at the sort of end of her tether. She just tried so many different things, like so many different diets. She tried behavioral therapy. She tried the whole list of things to get to where she needs to be, and she just really was really struggling. She'd, again, same sort of thing, felt guilty for spending time on herself, got a kid, and she just was struggling. And so within 6 months, she's at the point now where she's dropped, excuse me, she dropped 20 pounds, inches from hips and waist.
Amazing.
But it's more than that, it's just the difference in her, So from the very first call, you could tell that she was sort of quite stressed and, quite down about it. Really low self-esteem, really low confidence. And I had a call with her last week, and I actually interviewed her to talk about the things she's been through to sort of help some of our other clients. And it's just like this big smile on her face the whole time.
Got a sparkle back.
100%. She's got clarity on what she needs to do. She's got that sparkle back. From the very first conversation, again, she was someone that sort of liked exercise but felt a bit intimidated by gyms, and so we planned a home workout routine, and then just at the start of the year, she sent us a message saying, I've joined the gym. On her own accord, she joined the gym. She's got the confidence to go there, and she's actually really, really loving going to the gym now. So it's just been a complete transformation in terms of not just the physical side of things, which is obviously what she came for initially, but it's like the emotional side of things, the mental side of things. She's just in a really happy place. It's just lovely to see.
It is. It's amazing. As soon as you overcome something that's been stressing you out for such a long time, and if it's specifically weight, it's the other things. We, in a nice way, I can use me as an example. I don't put weight on because I don't know the tools. I know the tools of healthy eating and everything, because we're surrounded by it, and I'm very lucky that I've got people like you guys around as well. But it becomes an emotional thing. So like for me, it was cold, it was winter, I had a couple of unfortunate deaths in my family and things, and it was an awful time, Christmas and then January. So I've eaten way more because I've comfort eated. Luckily, I know the tools and the meditation and the mindset to get myself out, but it's easily a slippery slope, isn't it? Before you realise it, you've put an extra dress size on, and then an extra dress size on, and then you start becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy where your confidence and your sparkle just goes and goes and goes, and before you know it, you've got yourself into a position where you feel overwhelmed and you don't know where to turn to. So thank goodness for people like you is all I can say. So you're doing an amazing job, and honestly, thank you so much for you give so much knowledge out there. The amount of stuff that I've watched that you put on social media for free really does help people, and I hope that you know that. So thank you so much for sharing all your little golden nuggets with us. So for some of my clients, what I can't ask you for one thing because there's absolutely tons of things that you do, but is there any sort of little hints and tips that you think would really help anybody just to get them started and where to start?
For sure. So, look, I think if you're at the point where you've tried lots of things before and you feel a bit sort of lost, a really, really good starting point is to sit down, pen and paper in hand, and write out what you would absolutely love to achieve. So, and I don't think it's strong enough just to write down, I want to lose weight. It's not enough. Like, we get our clients to focus, say, look, in a year's time, where would you love to be? And we want a clear vision of what that is. We want to know what you want to look like, the clothes you want to wear, who you hang around with, like the things that you're doing now that you're not. So a lot of our clients that might be like, I want to be able to wear this, or I want to be able to go out to a restaurant and not feel guilty for ordering the dessert. And this whole, we want to get quite granular on it and work out exactly what it is you want. So you've got this clear vision and something to aim for. I think that is the first thing I would say, because if you can't see the person that you want to become and what you want to achieve, then you never will. The second thing is, then once you've got that clear vision, is you have to instill the belief in yourself that you can do this. And I understand why it's difficult, because if you've got years of evidence to show that maybe you can't do something, or you struggle to do something, then they understand why that would be difficult. But if you go into something thinking, I can't do this, or this won't work, then that's exactly what will happen. One of my clients the other day gave a really good analogy. She's like, it's a bit like relationships. She goes, like, if you stopped at every failed relationship, you'd never find the perfect person in the end, right? So if you went into every relationship going, this isn't going to work, then it's not going to. So you've got to go into it, and that's what we do with the mind body reset. That we work a lot on that. Telling yourself that you're not going to quit, understanding that there's going to be times when you might want to, but you've got to keep going anyway, and working out how to do that. And then I think the next thing that is really, really important is, once you've got this vision of where you want to be, and you sort of, you do the mental work to say, look, I can do this. Next thing I would do is analyze all the things that you've tried up until this point and work out why they didn't work, or why why you've maybe struggled with them. There'll be commonalities there. And I expect for most people, it will be they were very restrictive diets. It might be that there's a lot of convoluted rules and it's hard to understand. There'll be things that you can pick out. And then from that, you can work out what to do going forwards, or at least have an idea of that, right? So, there's the saying of success leaves clues, but also failures do as well, right?
Yeah.
We can understand, okay, maybe all those diets where I was trying to eat 1,000 calories a day weren't going to work. Maybe those diets where I had to spend 15 hours a week cooking weren't going to work because I'm busy. You can work out why something didn't work, and then try and formulate a plan going forward. And that's, again, it should be something that's individualized. It should be something that works for you, because if you have that in place, if you've got something where you should be able to write down a plan and go, can I see myself sticking to this for the next 3 months or 6 months or however long, right? If you've got like a couple of dress sizes, it's probably going to be about that amount of time. And if the answer is a resounding no, then you need to work on that again. It needs to be something that you can. And I think if most people were honest at the start of most diets, they'd probably say no to the majority of things they'd tried before. I'll go back to my keto. Like, if someone said to me, can you eat keto or low carb for 6 months? Absolutely hell no. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to do that for 6 months. I worked with a lady last year, and she'd been trying intermittent fasting for so long. And I said, look, why are you trying this? Why have you been trying this for so long? Why did it work? And it turns out she just loves breakfast, but she'd been denying herself breakfast for so long. It's like, well, it's never going to work long term. If that's your favorite meal and you really enjoy that in the morning, it's never going to work. Okay, so you've got to, it can't be like a square peg in a round hole situation. Yeah. It's got to be something that works for you. So analyze what you've done before, work out why they didn't work, and then you can take steps forward.
That's absolutely amazing advice. I'm actually going to take some of that advice as well. So thank you very much for that. So with all my podcast, the reason for my podcast is, obviously, it's called Get Your Sparkle On. We like to give my clients hints and tips and advice, as well as making them smile. So I've shared some crazy stories to my husband's demise, where he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you shared that to everybody, Jodie. But anyway, it doesn't have to be as revealing as some of mine. But is there anything funny that you can share with us that will make myself and listeners laugh and remember you by?
So, when you sent me the email the other day saying we're going to ask you this question, just so you know, I sort of racked my brains thinking, what could I tell this? And I actually said to my mate, I've got a little WhatsApp group with my best friends, sent them a quick message. And the amount of messages that came back, you could say this, you could say this, you could say this. I've really got that many embarrassing stories. So like, they were quite hot, and they had quite things I could say. The second thing I noticed, that actually the majority of them relate to things that are bad decisions that I've made under the influence of alcohol. So that maybe is a bit of a character reference for me. But the thing that really stood out was we went out for New Year's Eve. I couldn't pinpoint the year, but I think it was about 2007, 2008. Went out for New Year's Eve, and this is when I lived in central London. And doing the whole thing and trying to trek home on New Year's Eve in London. There's like millions of people everywhere. We get to the point where we're trying to go down the subway, and the queue to get down was just ridiculous. Couldn't move. It was a bit of a standstill, and I'd had a few drinks, and I thought, I just want to get home. So I decided that I was going to go into the middle barrier and slide down the barrier to the bottom. What I didn't sort of realize is that I hadn't noticed that along the sort of middle part of the barrier, there's like little like emergency stop signs. So
Yeah.
I basically had to sort of leapfrog a few of these. I managed to get to the bottom. I completely split my trousers, but also bashed my back into the point where I woke up the next day and I had to go and see a physio because I sort of hurt my coccyx that bad. So yeah,
Oh,
not an
bless
ideal
you.
end not an ideal end to one night and the start to the next year that I'd wanted, to be honest. But
No,
yeah,
that's hilarious. You've watched too many of the films where people slide down the banisters and you thought you couldn't do it.
that's what I think I had in my head. I think, right, this is going to be funny for me to do, and it's going to get me home half an hour quicker. But in reality, yeah, wrecked my back and wrecked my pair of jeans that I had as well. So yeah,
Oh, bless you.
not quite as in the movies.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. We'll make sure that we put all Nicky's details down below. So you wanted to check out his personal training programs. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend that you follow him and social stalk him as well, because the amount of hints and tips he gives you to empower you, you know, for your mind and not just your body, as well as hints and tips on food and nutrition, is amazing. So thank you again for your time. It has been amazing. I could talk to you all day, but we'll let you get on and change some more women's lives. Thank you again. Have an amazing week, ladies, and keep your sparkle on.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.